Here we are, 13 hours apart, right?
Yeah.
Basically, Monday in New Zealand, still
And are you
Sunday
in
night.
Canada?
I am. I'm in Western Canada,
Oh, yeah. What part's that?
in Edmonton.
Wow, where's that?
It's just okay. So I would say it's about a 12-hour drive from Vancouver, which is right on the coast.
Oh, okay.
So we're just 3 hours on the other side of the Rocky Mountains.
Cool. Yeah, I had an uncle in Vancouver.
It's beautiful. Have you ever been to Canada?
No, no, no. I've only ever been around the States and Australia, and that's it. I should
Yeah.
have gone when I was invited when I did How Bizarre, but I was too busy.
Yeah. Well, one day maybe you can still
Yeah,
do it.
yeah, before I get too old.
It'll be really nice, especially if you have any family, like you said, in Vancouver. Vancouver's a beautiful city to visit.
I've heard that. It's just fabulous.
Yeah.
I love the Guess Who. So, where are they from? Saskatchewan, is it?
Yeah, I think that's either there or Winnipeg. They might be from
Oh,
Winnipeg.
Winnipeg. Okay. Wow. Yeah, no, they were
Win-
cool. Favorite bands.
Winnipeg's kind of like smack dab right in the middle of the country. Actually, it might be even the center of North America.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, there's your geography. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. I don't know much about Canada. When I was a kid, my the lady that worked in my parents' shop, she was
Mhm.
married to a Canadian, and I just found them so easy to get on with.
Yeah. Oh, well, that makes me happy.
Mm.
Are you okay if we use any of the video from our talk today for our promoting the episode on our YouTube channel or our social media?
Yeah, what do I look like? Do I look all right?
You look fantastic.
As long as I don't look like hammered shit, I'll be all right.
Welcome, Alan, to Dope Nostalgia. So, here on our podcast, we have discussions about the things you did in the 90s as well as what you're working on now. So, we like to promote what's current as well in your career.
Oh,
So,
I'd love to. Yeah.
so what was the New Zealand music scene like in the 90s when you were getting things started there?
Well, there wasn't much of a scene really. There was, yeah, in those days you used to have to get a band together, and then you used to have to go and get your act together, and then you used to have to go and find people to play to because we were only about 3.5, 4 million people then. We're
Yeah.
now 5.5 million, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, it's growing.
Yeah. Who were some of your musical heroes growing up?
What, from overseas or New Zealand?
Everywhere, anywhere.
Oh gosh. Oh, well, of course, I love David Bowie. My favorite was, believe it or not, was the MC5. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
them. Yeah, I grew up listening to them. It was a builder when I was doing my building apprenticeship, put me onto them. And then there was Iggy Pop. It was just, I think that whole and believe it or not, don't know if I should say this, but Green Funk Railroad. Funny, they're all bands from Detroit. They had that
Yeah.
real industrial kind of sound going on back then. I think it
Hmm.
was sort of because people that came into Detroit at that stage, they were most of the families in that were working in car manufacturing places,
Right.
and it always had that. And I just love that. I thought it had a bit of drive and a bit of grunt.
That's true. I never put two and two together with that. That makes sense.
And they were from musical families, a lot of those people, and they came from all over America, but ended up in Detroit, which is kind of incredible.
Yeah.
I guess that's where the industrial side of it came from. Oh, and I liked a bit of Motown as well. I was never big on Motown, but the Supremes used to blow me away.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Marvin Gaye, of course.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Like you had a very interesting beginning with O.M.C. So basically, from what I understand from my research, you're the co-writer and the producer of the group,
Yes,
correct?
that's right.
And then Polly was the face of the group.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What about Phil?
Oh, Phil was Paulie's brother, and yeah, Phil was a nice enough guy, but him and I didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I thought because it's a long story, I won't go into it, but I told him to, I basically said very nicely to him that I tried to see him through rather than try and see through him, and I tried to help him get on and tell him where to get off. And I was very disappointed in some of the things he'd been saying. And he said to me, "Oh, I must have said it when I was drunk, man." And I said, "Well, that's no excuse."
Mm.
And so anyway, I sort of closed the door on him, and then Paulie knocked on the door. And I thought, oh, he must have sent Paulie around to beat me up.
Oh, no.
And Paulie says, no one talks to my brother like that, bro. I want to come and hang out with you. So I thought, oh, okay. And I realized that I guess he must have been stood over by his brother as he was
Yeah.
growing up and was younger. You know, he would, I think Phil would tell Paulie, oh, that guy over there, Paulie, he's mocking us. And Paulie goes, okay, Phil, I'll go. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
really?
and then I think he felt a lot, I don't know, he said that he felt quite safe with me. I think too, because I was in a 2-story building and we were upstairs and we could see anyone that was knocking on the door.
Mhm.
He probably felt a lot safer.
You can see him coming.
Yeah, yeah. But he came and saw me and he said, do you think I got a chance in the music business? I said, yeah, I think you got a really good chance, Paulie, probably better than anybody else I've ever met. And he said, well, what makes you say that? I said, it's just unique. You've got a unique creation, you know. And he's, oh, okay, cool. And I said, if we can incorporate that, make it kind of musical, that rapping through a trumpet, I think there's something magical there. And he says, okay, how long should I give it? I said, give it 3 years. And if it doesn't work out, go to art school, because that's what he wanted to do. Originally, he was going to go to art school. So, yeah, that's how it all sort of came about. And then Andrew Pinello, he's got a label over in Australia, and it was called Volition in those days.
Yeah.
And their DJ, Robert Rassick, he did a remix of a New Order track. I think it was True Faith or something, Certain Faith, I think the track was. And it sold thousands. He did really well. And I loved what Volition were doing. So I got onto Volition, and Andrew told me to chase up O.M.C and bands like that and get the whole. Did you hear the album Proud that I did?
No.
Oh, look it up. There's a band
Okay.
on there. They got the ball rolling, actually. 2 girls called Sisters Underground.
Yeah.
Have you-
I have not.
Oh,
I'm
wow,
learning.
that's quite interesting. They actually got the whole thing rolling. They came to me and they're really cool girls. Hasana was from Washington State. She had you listen to her raps, you listen to a track called In the Neighborhood that was on Proud. That was the first big hit that I ever really had.
Yeah.
And yeah, we did pretty well with it in New Zealand, Australia, and it was even getting airplay in Britain at the time, which surprised me. And some woman rang me up from Warner Brothers, and they were going to use it for a movie. She said, it's got Michelle Pfeiffer and all this in it, and it's a movie called My Posse Don't Do Homework. And I thought, oh, okay. And she said, I heard it when I was in Australia, this song. And I thought, okay. And anyway, it turned out the film, when I don't know how it works over there, but I think they show it to like about 800 people and they give an opinion on where they think it should go and what should happen. And they thought that the movie was too, it wasn't made for kids, it was more for adults. And
Mhm.
believe it or not, they changed it to Dangerous Minds and they did Coolio. So,
No way.
but yeah, true story. Yeah, but originally it was called, the working title was My Posse Don't Do Homework. And they wanted to use
Really?
Underground for it. Yeah, crazy, eh? And she was very keen. She kept in touch with me a few times. She was really nice, publisher from Warner's. And I thought, oh, wow, this is interesting. So, yeah, it all sort of started around then.
No kidding. What was the story of how the song, how Bizzare came about?
Paulie came around and saw me, and Andrew Pinello, who I was talking about that ran the label Volition, he said to me that they had this thing going on in Australia. I'd never heard of it because I never used to go out that much. I was always just locked in the studio. I had one of those studio tans, you know, as pale as anything. And he said, we do this thing called Big Day Out, and there's a special slot in there. It's called the Boiler Room because, of course, in Sydney it's very hot. And he said, I'd like you guys to come over and do all 5 Big Day Outs. So that was Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, Gold Coast, and Perth. And I thought, oh, that sounds cool. You're kidding. So I went and told all the artists that were on Proud, and they didn't believe me. But Paulie and Sisters Underground believed me. And they came along and we got paid per diems. And it was amazing because we went on at 11 a.m. when the place was practically empty because it was starting to warm up. And this boiler room was even quite hot then, you know, because the temperatures in Australia are crazy, as you probably know. And they, I remember Sisters Underground went on, they did their thing, and every time they played in the neighborhood, people would rush in and dance. And then when they did other stuff, they would empty out. And I realized the power of a pop song, you know.
Mm.
And then Paulie and I, before we went on this tour, we didn't have any songs or anything. And we stayed up late one night and we wrote 8 songs. It was crazy. And then we got the band together, got them, took us about 2 days to get a DJ. He wanted the girl Cena on there that sung on O.M.C. And a couple of other members. One guy wasn't that great, but he played log drums, which was pretty cool. So we incorporated him as well. And How Bizzare was one of those songs. And it was, I think we used to call it Big Top or something then. I think because How Bizzare is basically a song about the circus of life, you know. When I came up with the words, ringmaster steps out and says the elephants have left town. People are jumping and jiving, but the clowns are stuck around. I'm basically talking about the stock markets around the world.
Metaphorically,
you know,
speaking.
Yeah, it's like the ringmaster being the people in the stock markets, and people are jumping and jiving, and the clowns have stuck around. Elephants have left town. That means the big players have gone, and the clowns are all there just throwing money around. That's kind of, there's just quite a bit of a deep meaning in there. And every time I look around, it's in my face. That was kind of Paulie came up with every time I look, and that's so catchy, dude. And and then he would go, "You're not there," and I'm like, "Oh." So in the end, I said, "What about this? It's in my face." He said, "What do you mean by that?" And I said, "Well, I see the song being about advertising the whole world, the circus of life, you know, and there's these billboards every time I look around, it's in my face." You know, he said, "Wow, I never thought of it like that," and that was it. So yeah, I helped him really do the verses, and he came up with the chorus melody. And then, of course, it was working, but it wasn't quite there. And God bless her, Cena came in and she did those "Look Around," and she was really cool. I liked working with her. She had a real Polynesian feel to it. And Paulie would always sing a bit sharp, and she would, she would sing sharp and he would sing flat. But when you put the two together, it kind of was in tune, if you know what I mean.
Oh, wow.
And, I discovered that with a lot of when you get gospel singers in the States and that, it's bang on. But when you get them out of New Zealand, there's a group of them that sing sharp and a group that sing flat. And when you're in the middle, it just sounds fantastic. Comes together.
I've never heard of that. That's fascinating. I love that.
It's interesting. It's like with log drums. I was recording a log drum team, a 7-man log drum team. And I went in and said to the guy, he was annoying me because he was out of time. And I went in and I said to him, "Look, you're out of time." And they all looked at me. Oh, and I thought, "What have I done?" You know. And I said, "Oh, Ellen, it's his job to be out of time, you know." And I thought, "Oh." And they said, "He's out of time, and we work around him. We work in front of him and behind him, and that's what gives it that." You know. Oh, okay. So I sort of humbly pulled my hood over my head and went back behind the desk and didn't say anything. You know. Hero to zero, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, you had a #1 hit on the US Billboard chart. When you find out that happens, how does that hit you?
Oh, it was, yeah, I have to say, you know, it was a goal that I'd set. I know it sounds crazy, but I believe that if you help enough other people get what they want, they help you get what you want. So I sort of looked at the record company. What they needed was, we just had nothing happening overseas. It was all, I don't know, it just wasn't, we were just copying what was happening overseas. And I always loved the Māori guitar strum. I call it the Māori strum, that almost like a reggae thing going on. And I used to play it on the building site with the builders and that, and I incorporated it into How Bizzare. But I kind of took a little bit of, I shouldn't be telling you this, but it's kind of a little bit of Lou Reed. That sort of Sweet Jane, but turned backwards, because it's a C to a G to an F, and then Dylan sort of lyrics, you know. So I'm kind of culture jamming it all. And I found with a catchy chorus here, it was kind of interesting. I love writing like that. And when I heard Casey Kasem come on the radio, I was actually vacuuming my kitchen at the studio. And I heard Casey Kasem say, and the #1 record in America this week is O.M.C. And he said, and that doesn't stand for outboard, what did he say? Outboard motor club or motorcycle club. And I thought, oh, okay, something along those lines. That's interesting. And I suddenly just, hey, hang on, he's talking about us. And I just got this big rush, of goosebumps and everything. And wow. And he played How Bizarre. And it just, honestly, it just took my head off because it was a goal. Because in those days, I think there was only about 840 number ones on the American charts. And a lot of those were Beach Boys, Sir Elton John, people like that had already had a number one and gone back and had more,
Yeah.
So just to get one in there really meant something to me. And everybody in New Zealand said, oh, you're a joke if you think you're going to get a number one in America. You've got a better chance of winning lotto, the numbers games. And I thought, I think we got a chance.
Nice.
If I didn't think I didn't have a chance, I wouldn't believe what these people are saying. You got to give it a go, And so we actually geared towards it. And even to the point where we changed words like Marines, police, reporters. It was soldiers, police. And I said, no, make it Marines. The Americans like Marines, and things like that. So, yeah, that's kind of how it worked. We deliberately set about doing it. It wasn't like we just were walking around one day and said, oh, let's write a song and hope it goes number one in America. You know what I mean? I guess it's like Sir Edmund Hillary, he wasn't, when he conquered Mount Everest, he wasn't just walking around and, he planned to do it. And that's what we plan to do. I know it sounds crazy and people
thought you set out to plant the flag. Exactly.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. And people thought I was nuts. And, oh, what about the music, man? And I said, well, if we don't have music that pays us anything, then I can't keep doing it. I have to stick to doing adverts and things, which I hated.
You have a very good point, because sometimes you just need that one hit just to fund all the stuff that you love to do.
Yes, yeah, that's true, Naomi. That's so true. And out of it, I've got my own studio and we've got our own place. And it's very quiet here. We've moved out of Auckland City, but we're only 40 minutes away.
Yeah.
But yeah, behind me is all fields. Is sort of, they grow vegetables all year round here, and that's pretty cool.
So you're out in like a rural area?
Yes, but believe it or not, there's 24 beaches around us. It's not far from the sea anyway we want to go. If we drive for 10, 15 minutes, we're near the water, which is really
so wonderful.
Yeah, we managed to find an old community hall, and someone had done all the bedrooms and all the air conditioning in the rooms and the windows, and down the front they had a workshop there, and that's where I put the studio. So it worked out really well.
Very nice. We only
found it 2 years ago. I was looking for about 5 years,
Before there was royalty issues and such that happened in the group with Polly and all that. What were some of the good memories you have with him?
Oh, I love the guy. I miss him so much. He was one really cool dude. He was the sort of guy that if he went into a second-hand shop that sold second-hand clothes, like the Salvation Army or something like that, or the Red Cross, he'd come out looking like he's wearing an Armani suit. He was just one of those guys that, gosh, he just had a flair, and he ended up getting me into wearing track pants and jackets with the stripes on them and Nikes and all that,
like
stuff.
The Adidas and stuff. Nice.
Yeah, I never used to wear that, Naomi. That wasn't my thing. But he said, no, this is what you need to wear, bro. He was a very, very, very stylish guy, and he was a lot of fun. But unfortunately, in another sense, he was like a dog that had been kicked one too many times, and it comes up to you and you go, here, boy, and it backs off from you. That's the thing. I think a hard upbringing, because half Māori and half Nuaean, and he didn't know, what side he was on, if you know what I mean.
Oh, interesting.
Because the Māoris here they're deep, very true, staunch, and Nuaeans are sort of like the same, but they're two different people,
When did you last see him? Because unfortunately, I know I'm sorry he's gone now. I'm sorry about that.
What actually, we did some music together, and we did a couple of tracks. One of them I really loved, and it was the saddest song. It was never released. It was called was it Baby Maybe, or maybe, I can't remember, maybe Baby, but and believe it or not, do you know Cena? Did you ever see that show, Cena Warrior Princess?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we got Lucy Lawless to come and do vocals on it with us.
No
And
way.
yeah, it just sounds gorgeous, gorgeous song. And then Paulie, I don't know why, he didn't want to rap on it. So we got my favorite rapper, who was a guy called Boy C. He
Mhm.
came in and he rapped on it. And he's just like, I don't know what it was with Boy C. Every time I'd worked with him, we'd get a number 1 hit, you know. Um,
Mhm.
every time he rapped, you could hear the cash registers ringing. He just had a beautiful, clear sort of diction, you know, when he rapped. And
Mhm.
I started working with him when he was only 17, and he came in and did the raps on this track, and it was quite. You got to be careful what you write and what you sing about, because it can come true, or usually it does. It was a track with Georgian violins.
Yeah.
This chap came in from Georgia, and he had this little violin he put on his lap, and he played it, and it just sounded gorgeous. I'll try and find a mix of it and send it over to you.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
a
I'd love that.
beautiful track. And that was the last time I saw him. We worked on that, and Lucy Lawless did the vocals on it.
Mhm.
And it was really, really a lovely track. But Boy C had some lines in there like, "Bug down, I can almost hear kinfolk now weeping as you leave the ground. Maybe, baby, don't leave me this way." That was kind of, you know, and kind of freaked me out a bit. But yeah, you've got to be careful what you write about.
It's deep.
Yeah, it was very deep. Yeah,
Which
yeah.
OMC song are you most proud of? Like one you may have wished that had been a single, or
I
one that you love.
really loved Right On. I
Right
loved
on.
Right On because it's so New Zealand, you know, it sort of sells that down. Everybody loved Land of Plenty, but for me, I used to think, oh gosh, it's not my sort of thing, you know. We came to this land. It wasn't just wasn't me, you know. And
Mm.
he came and said to me, "Oh, we got to do Land of Plenty, bro." He said, "My father wrote it." I said, "Really?" And I said, "Oh, well, we have to do it then," you know. So we did Land of Plenty. And then
Mhm.
when it went to number 5 on the New Zealand charts, I said, "Gosh, your father could write a good song, Paul." He said, "Oh, I was just bullshitting you, bro. I wrote that."
No.
Yeah, I just wanted you to record it. And I was like, "Oh, okay." So, you know, there's only one idiot
Mhm.
here, and that was me.
No, he's sneaky.
Yeah, very sneaky, yeah.
Now, you own the most advanced recording studio in New Zealand, right? Uptown Studios.
Oh, yes, yeah. Well, I'm thinking of calling it the packing case because I've updated it again.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've made it all out of ply because I found all the low frequency just passes through it instead of bouncing. When I had Uptown Studios, the bass used to bounce around the room a lot. So I had to
Mm.
absorb it and get it out of the room, which was a real hassle. But with this
Oh.
new studio I've built, the bass just passes through the walls because I own the building myself. It goes into the room next door, which there's no one in there anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And I just find it
Oh.
so easy to mix stuff now. I can mix stuff in a few hours, whereas before it used to take me a few days, you know.
No kidding. Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess tracking is everything, right? If you can't get a good track to work with because of the room, that's rough.
that's true. Yeah, that's very true. The room we had was all right. It could get a good bottom end out of it, but there was a few nodes in there I discovered. And it wasn't till I moved out of there that I really started to notice it, you know.
You got to get all the, like the physics worked out.
Yes, yeah. And that room was invented for us by a guy from the DSIR, which is the Department of Scientific and Industrial Research in New Zealand. He was an
Hmm.
acoustics specialist. He did a pretty good job back then, but of course, in the last sort of 25 years, technology's really changed big time.
Do you keep up with the tech? Is there any technology that you don't want to work with, or are you pretty much on top of it?
I think, yeah, yeah, it's interesting you should say that, Naomi. I guess I've gone into the digital age, taking as much analog gear with me as I can. All my
Mm.
outboard gear is analog. I have 3 AMSs and, you know, Eventide and a lot of old analog gear, and I just put it all into a digital mixing console, you know,
Oh, I
and
love
away we
that.
go.
I
Yeah,
love that analog's kept alive.
oh, it's best, isn't it? Analog rules, eh? It
I,
still sounds fantastic too, you know.
I'm grateful that I took a recording course. And I'm really grateful that we did do a section on analog just so that we could understand it, even though we weren't going to be really using it, just to see like the origins of everything and how much better in certain ways it sounds.
Oh, it sounds beautiful, doesn't it?
The
And the problem
richness.
with digital is because at 44.1 kilohertz or 21,000 kilohertz, you get so much information crunching up there so fast,
Mm.
it creates a false harmonic, and the ear doesn't hear it, but the brain perceives it.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's why people won't listen to CDs for 4 or 5 hours, but they'll just keep playing vinyl.
Really?
Yeah, they find it irritating. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, crazy, isn't it? I remember Doug Rogers. Bless him. If you look up Doug Rogers, he's East West. He's another Kiwi that did really, really well. He's got the old, gosh, what are those recording studios in the middle of Sunset Boulevard now? The
Ooh.
ones, oh, oh gosh, they're beautiful. All the design work was by Stork. That guy Stork, all the architecture work, but all the
Hmm.
studios were done by Bill Putnam back in the day.
Hmm.
Beautiful recording studios. Everybody worked there from the Beach Boys to the Rolling Stones, you know. So he's got those now, and he used to explain it all to me. He was quite an interesting guy, Doug.
Hmm. Are there some artists that you've worked with besides OMC that you'd like to share or that you are still working with?
Oh, okay. I'll send you a copy of Three the Hard Way. Have you heard a track called If It's On?
No, I haven't.
It's on. Okay, well, that went to #1 over here.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
they were going to go over to Australia and start working over there, but I don't know what it is with hip hoppers. They always seem to get into trouble with the police and everything. And,
Well,
oh,
where did they come out? Like obviously from New Zealand, but what era, what year was that?
well, their first track, they came to me and they said, "Oh, we want to record this," and I just listened to it. I said, "No way, am I recording that?" I said, "You're going to get, you're going to get done for it." And it was, "We don't like hip hop." Oh no, we love it. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
And of course, they put it out. It went to #1 in New Zealand, and it went to top 5 in Australia. And of
Uh-huh.
course, 10cc's management or publishing company came in and just, and that was the end of that.
No way.
They had to pay all the royalties out. Yeah. So then they came back to me and they'd taken a track, but we managed to disguise it enough. Um, I can't remember what the track was. It was, oh gosh, if when you hear the track, you'll go, "Oh, I know that."
Oh
But
yeah.
fortunately, my publisher over in Sydney at Universal Publishing, he had the publishing to this other track as well, the one that we'd ripped off a little bit, and he got an okay on it. So yeah, we released it. But at the end, it didn't. It sounded a bit like it, but it wasn't exactly like it. So we got away with it. And that went #1. That was a track called "If It's On." I really loved that. And
Mm.
then I did some country music for a while, which I love the story in the stories, because there's always
Yeah.
stories going on in country music. For a girl, Ellie Cook, and she said, "Oh, I'm trying to get into these country charts, the rural country charts in Australia." I
Yeah.
said, "Oh, that shouldn't be too hard." So I wrote her a track. What was it called? Midnight Cowboys. And the guy I wrote it with, he came back and he changed it to Robot Cowboys. Sounds pretty cool. I'll try and send you a copy of it. It's about a
Okay.
cowboy who just goes out into the desert and thinks everything's cool. And he's on his own and he's just looking at the stars, and suddenly he sees a satellite looking at him and he's looking back at it. He realizes he's not on his own.
Wild. How
I'll try and get it.
popular how popular is country music in Australia and New Zealand?
It's pretty popular. Yeah, it seems to be
Yeah.
getting bigger and bigger. It's not really my thing, but what I did love was the stories in it. And a
Mm.
lot of it was quite rocky. It didn't sound like country music at all to me. It sounded a lot more rockier. And I thought, gosh, this
Mhm.
is pretty cool. One artist I've been working with is Moana McCartney. She calls herself Prin, and
Mm.
she's getting a lot of interest at the moment. I've just putting the finishing touches on her album. We spent a year making it because of COVID and the lockdowns and everything.
Yeah.
And she rang me from England, said she was coming back to England, from England to New Zealand, and she wanted to work with me because I'd worked with her father. Can you believe this? Her father was in a band called Hello Sailor. If you ever look
Oh,
up Hello Sailor,
yeah.
you'll see that they were quite big in New Zealand and Australia, and they almost could have cracked the States, but I don't know what happened there. Too many drugs or something, or maybe, I don't know, management. I'm not sure what went on, but yeah. Graham, I made an album with him just recently. He passed away as well. Graham Brazier. He was from Hello Sailor.
Yeah.
Great album. I really loved it. I was quite proud of it. And he was telling me that he was working with Ray Manzarek, from the Doors.
Uh-huh.
So Ray Manzarek used to play with Hello Sailor at the Whiskey A Go Go and places like that. So yeah, and he's just having me on. And anyway, I was watching some videos that his girlfriend had of the band when Graham passed, and there was Ray Manzarek on the keyboards and Graham on the stage singing next to him. I was like, whoa.
It's really happening.
Yeah, it was really happening, Graham. He was almost like I guess he was New Zealand's answer to Jim Morrison, very talented guy. And I loved making his album, but unfortunately he passed away. And then Colin Hogg, who's a journalist friend of mine, he came and said to me, look, Paulie's passed away, Graham's passed away. If anyone else passes away that you're working with, Alan, I'm going to start worrying about you.
Oh, geez.
Thanks, Colin.
Well, I'm just glad that I got to learn so much about the New Zealand music scene today too, because we don't know enough. We really don't over in North America. It's exciting to learn.
Oh, wow. What'd you learn?
Well, I've learned some of the titles of some of the artists that I need to check out, and about your history involving how your studio was together. And I think it's wonderful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was in a band called Body Electric before I ever got into the studio side of things. And I really loved what we were doing. We were about to go over to the States, and I had a car crash, which was it was unfortunate, but it was fortunate in a way, because it it showed me that I really didn't want to be on stage anymore. I really enjoyed being in the studio. I loved being in the studio, and I kept having the same dream all the time. Naomi, this is a weird one, but I dreamed that there would be, I'd be playing at a gig with the band, and there'd be all these people there just going crazy. And I go, oh, this is cool. I'm loving this. And they're all getting off on it, which they used to, get kind of like almost like a high from the band playing. And then I'd go up to the venue when another band was playing, and there was all the same people there doing the same thing. And I think, gosh, this is weird. Why am I having this dream all the time? What have I done to deserve this?
Oh.
I came to realize that the dream, possibly, I'm hoping this is what it meant, but it symbolized the fact that those people that were there were in the moment when that band was doing something that was absolutely, bang on, that they were enjoying it and they were getting the buzz off it. And if you could go in the studio and just put that down, it would be there forever.
Yeah.
If that kind of makes sense,
It
but
does.
that's, I think the dream was,
Your subconscious telling you.
Yeah. So, yeah, I ended up in the building a studio, which was, and my friend Steve Robinson, he came up to Auckland from Wellington, and he used to do ads, and he sort of chucked me in the deep end because I had no idea. And he taught me quite a lot about engineering and just, what happens. And I never really wanted to do production either. I just fell into that by default because no one else was.
Some of the greatest stories ever told was somebody started to do it by accident.
It always works like that, doesn't it?
Yeah. I know our Zoom meeting's going to run out in about 4 minutes, so I don't want it to suddenly shut down on you. I just thought I'd give you a warning that it was going to do that.
Okay, no worries.
These things have the time limit on them. If my subscription run out, which it did today.
Oh, damn.
It's okay. I'll get it renewed, but it's good. It's just in time. I was going to ask you one more question too before we wrap things up about what goals lie ahead for you musically. What else do you have coming up that you are excited about?
Oh gosh. I'm doing a drum and bass album for my first client that ever walked in the door when we set up the first studio. I'm now working with his son, and his son's doing a drum and bass album, and he's come and got me to get him out of trouble. So I'm working on that at the moment, which is good fun. That's quite interesting. And I just really, now I'm kind of semi-retired and I just want to enjoy myself. That's why I built the studio, so I wouldn't have to pay big rents anymore and just enjoy what I do and just love what I do rather than having to go and do it every week just to pay the rent,
Amen. Doing what you love and getting paid for it. Not many people can say they can do that.
Yeah, what's the book of Zen say? How can one be creative when one's worried about the rent?
Her haze? I'm in agreement with that. I think many musicians are starving and in agreement with that.
Yeah, I feel for them. It's sad, isn't it?
Yeah. But hey, sometimes it's just you're happy doing what you love. And I'm glad that you
Yeah.
still get to do what you love.
And never let go of your dream. That's what it comes down to. And, if your dreams don't scare you, then they're not big enough.
Nice. That's true. Agreed.
Yeah.
Alan, you're awesome. I'm really grateful for you coming to spend time with me today.
Oh, thank you.
This will be out. I'm really ahead of schedule. So it's probably going to be out in about 2 months.
Oh, cool.
Gives me time to do the editing and everything. And
some of the tracks I was talking to you about.
yes, I would love that if you do. I can put some clips into the show if you'd like.
Okay, I haven't got any video clips as such, but I've got some sound bites.
Just the audio, because the audio will go into the show, but not video really. So video I just use for like our YouTube to promote the show and our Instagram and those things.
Okay. Oh, that's cool, Naomi.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. I thank you again for sharing and teaching me so much.
Oh, I don't know if I'm teaching anything, but hey,
Well, yeah, I did. Like I said, I learned a lot more about New Zealand that I didn't know.
Oh, well, if you ever come out here, come and visit us. And yeah, we'll take you around some of those beaches and things.
Oh, what a dream.
Oh, it's pretty nice out here.
I can only imagine. I'll keep that in mind because I'm like 12 hours from the nearest ocean. It's sad.
Oh, well, when you got a studio, you can't be near the ocean anyway, unless you've got about 5 doors between you and the water. Because, the salt air and everything just eats into the equipment anyway. I've seen that happen to people.
That's true. Oh, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you again. I'm going to let you go. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Oh, thank you. And keep me in touch when it's on, because I'd like to send it to a few friends. Just tell them. I will. Great.
I will. I'll keep in touch with you. And then if you have the social media, I'll tag you in that too.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Thanks. I'm not really that way social media inclined, but I can go and hassle my daughter to sort of show me what's going on.
Oh, that works.
Yeah, she's pretty onto it. She's the one that set all this up today. So
tell her I said thank you.
Yeah, last time I did an interview was a guy at Brazil and we couldn't even talk to each other,
Zoom is great. I love it. It really makes things easier. So but once again, tell your daughter thank you. I appreciate you guys setting this all up.
Too. It must be cool to record it and then to be able to go back over it and get all the good bits.
Yeah, and it separates the audio from the video for you too, which is nice.
Yeah, good one.
I'm worried this is going to shut down on me and I don't want to leave you hanging.
Well, you take care, Naomi. Nice to see you and great to talk to you.
Great to talk to you, Alan. Thank you. You have a wonderful day.
Yeah, you too. Take care.
Bye.